Oops. Sorry, guys. I'm having technical issue. Yeah. Can you give me a couple of minutes, please? I'm so sorry about that, but now we are live. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in and welcome to APJC Office Hour for AWS Disaster Response Hackathon. So, this is our second APJC Office Hours, and we hope that we could address some of your questions, especially APJC folks, and guide you on how you can succeed to win the hackathon. As always, we have two great speakers for today, Stephen Goldfinch and also Yanwei. So Steve is our disaster response subject matter expert from Asian Development Bank, and Yanwei is our machine learning expert from AWS. So if you have any questions, ask them away on the comment box, and our speakers will help you with your questions. Now, before we get to know them better, let me introduce myself. I'm Tony. I'm a senior developer advocate covering for ASEAN and AEM, working for AWS, and I will be your moderator for today. All right. Now, let me pass my mic to Steve for introduction.
Okay, great. Thanks, Tony, and hi, everyone. So I'm Steve Goldfinch. I'm a disaster risk management specialist with the Asian Development Bank based in Manila in the Philippines. And I work across countries. I work with countries rather across Asia and the Pacific to build climate and disaster resilience. We support disaster recovery and reconstruction, and we help to find solutions to better manage and reduce risk. So at ADB, we work with countries to understand disaster risk and how that risk interacts with their development aspirations. So we provide financial and technical assistance as well as strategies to better manage and reduce risk. For today, we're talking about disaster response. So post-disaster, ADB provides loans and grants to countries to finance the recovery and reconstruction, and really ensuring that the principles of Build Back Better are incorporated into those investments. And since 2004, we've provided over $6 billion in post-disaster finance. So I think it's also important to note that we work with countries to address the drivers of disaster risk, right? Which really is a big issue for us across the region. So looking at unplanned urbanization, the impacts of climate change, environmental degradation, and of course, poverty as well. So that's a little bit about me. Thanks, Tony.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve. And now, next one, we have Yanwei. Yanwei, please introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Yanwei. I'm a machine learning specialist solution architect at AWS. Currently, I'm located in Hong Kong, and as a solution architect, our job is to help customers to understand their problem and help them to provide the solutions and implement the solutions. Most importantly, accompany our customer to advance their journey in ML.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Really excited and appreciate for you to be here. So, for all of you who have questions related to disaster response, please do ask your questions away in the chat box. You can ask to Steve. He has an extensive experience working with people around the globe and can share ideas for you. And Yanwei, if you have any kind of questions related to machine learning, Yanwei is our subject matter expert. And as always, before this stream starts, I already shared a form to collect questions from all of you in advance. And most of the questions are asking about what disaster response is and what this hackathon is all about. So I'm going to let Steve to answer about the disaster response, and I will address what AWS Disaster Response Hackathon is. So let me share my screen. Yep, this is the right screen. So a quick overview about this hackathon. You can get all details by visiting the official web page in the dev post. Let me share you the link over there. And I think this is a great opportunity for all of you to join this hackathon. And why I do think it's important is simply because the frequency of natural disasters are increasing. So last month, we had unfortunate event of Semeru volcano eruption in Indonesia. A couple of weeks ago, Philippines had an earthquake. And we, as a developer who can speak to machine, we use lots of technologies, right? And this case of unfortunate event makes me wonder if we can use technologies to at least mitigate the risk and minimize the blast radius of the disaster. And that is exactly why you need to be part of AWS Disaster Response Hackathon. If you're a developer, builders, data scientists, or machine learning engineers, or even students, this is the perfect hackathon for you. You can bring your ideas and help everyone to improve disaster response with machine learning. So imagine that with with advanced technology of machine learning, we can help people in need, suffering from disaster in various locations across the globe, from wildfires in Greece, earthquake in Japan, to volcano eruption in Indonesia, and earthquake in Philippines. So yeah, so I think this is a great opportunity for us to step up and be part to make a better world. I will share the link on the comment box so all of you can read more details. Yeah. And just to give you a quick overview about this hackathon, as I mentioned, you can visit the Disaster Response Hackathon details page on in Dev Post. And this hackathon has prizes as well, right here. And I suggest you to check the rules first before you joining in, just to make sure that you are eligible enough to join the hackathon. And once that you join the hackathon, you can also check the Discord channel. You can see here. You can check the Discord channel that we have set up for you to facilitate any challenges or issues. And to help you with this hackathon, AWS provides you with a cool service that we just launched at reInvent last year, and that is called Amazon SageMaker Studio Lab. This is a really amazing service, but I will let Yanwei to guide us through on how that you can use this service and what kind of implementation that we can do with SageMaker Studio Lab. And also, don't forget to check out the inspiration tab to give you more inspiration or ideas what to build in this hackathon. Right. Okay, so that's a quick overview about this hackathon. And now let's have a discussion with our disaster response expert, Steve. Steve, it's very nice to have you here today. I do have a couple of questions that I'd like to ask you, right? But first, before we go to my list of questions here, can you share a bit about you and what you do at the ADB?
Sure. So, Donnie, it's actually what you said before, right? We want to avoid the impacts of natural hazards, right, from turning into disasters. And so that's primarily what my role is about at ADB. So I'm working with countries in Asia and the Pacific to first make investments in risk reduction and preparedness. So that could be either a standalone investment such as like flood protection, or embedding something into a broader project like an early warning system component into an urban improvement project. Second, we support investments in actual resilient infrastructure so that the asset or the system can withstand natural hazards. And for that to happen, you really have to have an understanding of risk, right? And how it
Yep.
interacts with people and assets. And then, so we work with countries to build their understanding about how to make those risk-informed decisions and strengthen the physical resilience as well as the resilience of critical systems. And then third, it's about providing capacity development by supporting changes in disaster risk governance. And this is really important. So looking at laws, regulations, building codes, strategies that governments have to achieve their goals for risk reduction and for resilience. And so part of that is generating knowledge, and then scaling up that and working on kind of new and emerging approaches, building the capacity of government officials. So it's all about how do we support countries to meet their ambitions around having a resilient society, right? And then, of course, in the event of a disaster, as I said before, we're there for our countries and providing that financing that's necessary for the recovery and the reconstruction.
I see. Yeah, you've been working with a lot of people and managing a couple of like disasters, right? So, my first question is that what is the most challenging experience in your role?
Yeah, I think there's kind of a common challenge actually, and it's really about managing data post-disaster. So, after an event, if we look at the Tonga example that happened earlier, the volcanic eruption in Tonga that then caused a tsunami, and that's cut off the undersea cable, so the country was having difficulty communicating
Yep.
with the outside world. And so, understanding the data, getting the information, and being able to process it, looking at the quality of the data, understanding that data is constantly changing, right? From the minute the disaster happens until now. So understanding that it's dynamic and how it can be processed so that we can inform communities and decision makers, identify hotspots, prioritize areas for the response activities, and also to support, transparency and where assistance goes, right? Because you often in these large scale events, you have a lot of welcomed assistance coming in from different partners. So understanding where that goes and helping the government to have an understanding of that, like that big picture. So data is really critical to an effective and efficient response and recovery. And I think all disasters really struggle with that processing and understanding and being able to make use of all the different data streams. So when you think now, like in Indonesia and in the Philippines, you have a lot of social media data coming up, right? So people saying how the disaster has affected their local area, posting photos, maybe talking about how services have been interrupted. There's no water here, things like that. We have this many IDP families. All of that is now available in social media. So how can you kind of extract that? How can it complement the formal reporting streams that governments have and rely on? So it's really about ensuring that quality and using it alongside those traditional sources. So I think it's about adding to that picture so that we have a better understanding. And let me just flag here, the International Recovery Platform, which is based out of Kobe, Japan, is a great resource for post-disaster recovery, understanding Build Back Better and how that can be applied. So that's a really great resource to understand the tools that already do exist. But I think to answer your question, lots more can be done, and it's really around harnessing data and leveraging it. Yeah.
I see. So that's really insightful. Thank you, Steve, for that. And as I understand, that data is actually the foundational layer to help us to mitigate the risk coming from the disasters. And taking a step forward about this data, how do you think that machine learning can help us to mitigate the risk or to give some like sort of improvement on how that we respond to disaster?
Yeah, I think machine learning can probably help answer some of the key questions that you have after a disaster, right? So how quickly can we bring data together to help decision makers? How can we identify trends early on? Where are the like most pressing gaps, and that supports that prioritization that I mentioned? And then how can we use data analytics to support the programming and the activities? So I also think probably machine learning has a role to play in quality assurance, right? Because it's able to help process so much and potentially validate as well, validate other sources, perhaps those traditional sources that governments and agencies use. So yeah, I guess the question is kind of how can machine learning and these streams of data be leveraged? And I think there's a lot that can be done there.
Awesome. Okay, so let me check if there's any questions from viewers for you, Steve. Oh, okay, we have one question, and this is a really good question, actually. So the question is, what is disaster response? Steve,
Okay.
probably you can help to address
Yeah,
that.
good question. Okay, so disaster response is really about taking actions directly before, during, or immediately after a disaster, after an event, right? In order to save lives, to reduce the impact of the event, and to ensure public safety and meet those basic needs that people have after a disaster. So I think if you kind of continue on and think about what an effective disaster response is, it really requires, as I was talking about, a dynamic understanding of people's needs and of the scale of the impact, and also keeping in mind that disasters often are followed by cascading events. So if you have an earthquake, for example, and it knocks out your water supply, then often you can have disease outbreaks because of the lack of drinking water, right? So it's really understanding that whole picture. So managing the event, and then limiting the impacts of that event while you mobilize and implement a response.
I see. Thank you, Steve, for your clear explanation. Okay, so still on the machine learning subject, Yanwei, you are our machine learning expert here. And from your technical perspective, how do you see machine learning can help to improve disaster response?
Yeah, thanks, Danny. And a really great conversation with Steve because I do learn a lot while he's talking, and I was thinking how machine learning can, from a technical perspective, how can machine learning to bring or solve some of the challenge. I think machine learning is not a new topic. Machine learning has been developed since early 1960. And however, machine learning has been kind of boost in the recent year because of the technology advancements or because of the hardware advancements. Now, doing machine learning is much easier than previously. And that's the reason why machine learning has boosted many areas, including e-commerce, including retail, including financial bank, and why not disaster recovery. Taking some of the bullet points from Steve, I think data is very important, but how to process the data is the specialty of machine learning. And talking about the social network, we do have the advancements in the natural language processing, where machine learning do have the possibility to analyze the massive word, massive text, so that we can extract the topic, we can classify different topic from the sentence or sentiments or things like that. And also, I do think another very useful, actually two useful area for a recent advanced machine learning can be helpful is that one is for time series prediction, where we can predict the cost of the recovery, cost of the damage, etc. And also the computer vision. Computer vision can help to, especially after the earthquake, computer vision may help the decision maker to estimate how many damaged houses are there in the field, together shooted image from the drone, so that machine learning can provide real-time analysis, very quick answers or very quick response for the decision maker. Those are the area I think machine learning can help to manage the data, to provide insight from the data, etc.
That is amazing, Yanwei. That is a lot of ideas for you for the viewers and the folks joining this stream to build your first project in this hackathon. Okay, and last month, Yanwei, at AWS re:Invent, AWS launched SageMaker Studio Lab, right? And this is the service that the developers need to use in order to succeed in this hackathon. So and you did a great demo last time in our first office hour. Do you mind to walk us through just a quick one about what is SageMaker Studio Lab?
Yeah, definitely with pleasure. I do have already shared my screen, and
Let me share your screen, but probably you want to move it to the yes to your demo. Yeah.
um, I hope everyone can see my screen. For the SageMaker Studio Lab, Actually, it's one service that we announced last re:Invent to facilitate the ramp up in machine learning, where developer or data scientist can use directly the SageMaker Studio Lab without going through the subscription of the AWS account. So that with the email, you can have already your notebook environment. To just quickly demonstrate how to go there. Nothing special. We just need to tap on the search engine and you'll find the landing page. Once you're in the landing page, you can request account where the only thing you need is to provide your username and email. That's it. And after the validation, you will have your environment ready. I've already applied for my environment, and this is me, and this is my environment, where you can see I do have separate environment, CPU, GPU, and I can start the project. I can stop the engine, and I can use this managed notebook environment to explore machine learning, to learn machine learning, to just type the code, to get the hands dirty.
I see. So, and this is totally free.
Definitely.
Okay, so and there will be no credit card,
No, only email.
only email. So you just need to sign up, and then you can get your account and start tinkering with your machine learning model.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Okay, so Yanwei, do you have any demo on how we can use SageMaker Studio Lab to develop machine learning model?
Yeah, definitely. I do have prepare one code samples so that I can illustrate how as a data scientist or as a student, how you can leverage SageMaker Studio Lab to develop your own machine learning model. Once you register for the SageMaker Studio Lab, you have this landing page where you can choose CPU, GPU. Today, I'm going to use GPU because I'm want to show is a deep learning model with GPU. It trains faster. I have already the environment prepared, but if it is the first time, then you probably need to go through the how to get started, where we do listed some of the very useful instruction for you to ramp up. Uh, as the SageMaker, as a Jupyter Lab environment, you do get to the basic functionality. You get very familiar interface, and there is no surprise for you there is no learning curve for you to use it. Once you have this interface, what you can do is to first of all, when you have the interface, you can have two ways to access this interface. One is through UI, and of course, you can. Some people prefer terminal. You can also have this terminal. And for our instance GPU, we do provide the GPU T4, NVIDIA T4 for you to use. And each session lasts 4 hours. But when the session finished, you can restart the session. The only thing changed is your code. Your code cannot continue running about 4 hours. Apart from that, your code will be persist in the environment, and not only your code, your environment will be persist. So in this example, for instance, it's a default environment. Of course, you can build your own environment. I know a lot of data scientists want to use different environment for different projects so that you have the possibility to do so. And this environment is persisted on your accounts. So nothing special. You do have the possibility to execute the code, and you have the possibility to pipe install or conta install your library, and this library will persist. So this is a getting start demo where you can also download the example. You can download directly from the Git. Once you download the Git, you have the possibility to collaborate with the others. Because I saw one question from our chat where people asking how I can share with the notebook with the others. Well, the most easy way is to collaborate with the others through the Git. Let me show what it looks like. Once you download it from the Git, of course, you can use the terminal. Once you download the code from the Git, you do have the possibility, have the two ways, UI and terminal, to see the code change, to commit the code, to push the code to your own Git, and etc.
Mm.
So that it's a fully integrated experience for you to develop the code, to share with your colleague, to share. Yeah,
Oh, that's amazing. So that means that developers can actually use Git as the main collaboration platform, yeah?
yeah, definitely, and it is highly recommended to do so.
Okay, cool. Okay. So let me check if there's any questions from viewers for Steve or Yanwei. Okay, so I think we don't have it yet. And Yanwei, you told me that you have a really cool demo when it comes to computer vision. Is that something that
Yeah.
you can show it to us?
Yeah, actually, everyone can run the code because it's integrated in our AWS SageMaker Studio Lab samples, where once you download it, you follow the instruction, you will clone the code to your local repo. Uh, I mean, local meaning that local in the SageMaker Studio Lab, where you don't need to worry about the code loss because it will be persist in the environment. You do have the maximum 15 gigabytes of the storage, so that
Mm.
you can store it. You can store the code, you can store the model, you can store the data sets. So the demo I'm going to show is one computer vision problem where it's related to disaster recovery, where the demo is trying to classify the image, where it wants to the model can classify the different weather so that you can add your own data and to classify more meaningful tasks for the disaster risk reduction. To do the demo, I do switch the content environment from the default Python one to the one that I installed previously,
Mm.
where it got all the deep learning library. And if of course you can use the terminal to create the environment, and of course you can also still use the default environment and just need to install all the library you need. For instance, here you can install the PyTorch, the Torch Vision, etc. Here I already installed most of the library, and interestingly, um, since it is a GPU, you do have the CUDA, all the library related to CUDA already installed, so that you don't need to worry about the managing your environments and all the library that you use for the deep learning. And here we go. As standard, as a data scientist, you probably need to download the image or download the data sets. And those are Python code. I highly suggest that you try on your own. I'm not going to spend a lot of time explaining the code, but it's pretty straightforward and with a lot of comments. Please try it. So that we have a very simple problem classification of single class classification and with four classes. And once we have the data loaded in our environment, meaning here locally, we could pre-process the data um, by as a computer vision problem. You probably need to do some of the resizing to better
Mm.
fit into your neural network, and you probably need to do some random crop of the
Mm.
image, do some flips, do some rotation, so that your data will be not in the single format, so that your model will be robust. And yeah, this is a step uh, where you can do the pre-processing of the data. And then we are going to use the dense nets, pre-trained dense net, only fine-tuning with the correct class, so that we will import the model. And once the model is defined, we can train our model by defining the correct backpropagation and feed forward. Here you go. I actually try training the small model, not small model, actually it's a pretty huge model. I actually use this model training on the CPU. It takes me 10 minutes per epoch. And in GPU, it roughly take yeah, probably 10 seconds. so that you can, in deep learning, you can understand that GPU can help you to boost the model development. However, if you don't use the resources for training the model, you can probably use the CPU for development. Um, we do provide both of the environment for you to choose. The only thing is that GPU lasts for 4 hours and CPU lasts for 12 hours. And you might think that my model trains for a long time, 2 hours, 3 hours. How am I supposed to do? Do I need to close? What if I accidentally close the Chrome,
Mm.
or accidentally close my computer, or I need to go home?
Yep.
Right? This environment is totally different. This is a managed environment where all the infrastructure is hosted in AWS,
Mm.
so that you don't, it's isolated your UI from the backend compute resources. If I close here,
Mm.
the model training will continue to train, and you can keep pick up where you left when you reboot the session. And if your training lasts for 4 hours, for example, you can also write the intermediate results into the local space, so that you have the model after several epoch, you can have the checkpoint of your model to store here, so that you don't need to worry about the environment or the Chrome browser will impact your work. This is not this is a totally different concept. Well, my model is finished training, and let me test. As a data scientist, I need to test my model, so that I will feed into the test data, where I can illustrate some of the, because accuracy is
Mm.
pretty high actually. Accuracy, as the log shows, the accuracy from the validation data set is already 86%. So that I'm expecting for the test data set something similar, right? So that by randomly explore the test data sets, I see most of the most of the image are correctly labeled. However, we do have some of the error. Let me see. Probably this one, the shine, probably yeah, sunshine to cloudy. Well, this is a wrong prediction. Um, uh, uh, Towards the end, you can also have the confusion matrix to explore your results. So basically, this is a very simple demo to show the how SageMaker Studio for you to use. Just recall the previous question from one of our audience for sharing the notebook. The Git is a good solution, and as you probably see, this is the training, validation, programming happens all in the single environment. However, if you want to put machine learning into production, for some of the audience, we do provide you advanced functionality to integrate it SageMaker Studio Lab, the one that you try without account, um, uh, without any effort into our AWS account, where you have a fully managed environment, have a lot of advanced functionality for machine learning plus DevOps, what we call MLOps, for CI/CD release, for hosting your endpoint, for training in the distributed environment, because we are only using one single GPU right now. You may have a huge model that needs multiple GPU and multiple nodes with multiple GPU. All those advanced functionality is already integrated into the SageMaker Studio, where you can put into production. It's a production ready environment. Many customers use machine learning and put in production in their AWS accounts. So that SageMaker Studio Lab is for you to explore machine learning and to try machine learning and to code. But if you are considering to put into production, we do have
Mm.
SageMaker Studio, SageMaker as a machine learning platform. That's it.
Wow, amazing! That's a lot of stuff. Thank you, Yanwei.
Yeah, no
And
problem.
I am currently looking at a couple of questions coming from the viewers. The there's a question coming from Sinan Robilert from France, and he asked about the sharing. And I just realized that you just answered all those questions in terms on how that they could collaborate their notebook with SageMaker Studio Lab. So thank you about that. And also that you mentioned to utilize checkpoint utilize a checkpoint so we can revert back from the previous state. So there's another question, and this is one is really cool, a really good one. So SageMaker Studio Lab has the time limitation, right? And what happened if we train the model that passed that limitation, like probably 20 hours?
Mm, good question. Unfortunately, I will stop the session
Okay,
after
got it.
4 hours so that
Okay,
your code will stop running.
I
But
see.
you don't lose the data.
Hmm.
Your previous checkpoint will still persist in your environment. It's just um, the session will be stopped so that yeah, the training will no longer happening.
I see. I see. So that's folks. Don't forget to utilize the checkpoint. And the other question is from anonymous from Peru, and the question is based on the project requirements. Do we need to develop a ML algorithm that answers to the problem we choose, or do we need to build an integrated solution along with other AWS services? For an example, for an aerial image recognition algorithm, do we need to implement the solution? Oops, I lose it. Do we need to implement the solution with AWS Greengrass for the deployment in a drone, or is it enough with the development of the solution?
Yeah, actually, good question. Um, um, if I can share my screen, I do
Okay,
actually have the instruction to answer the question, where actually the basic requirement is to build a model and describe your problem, provide the introduction of your problem and how you solve the problem within 3 minutes. So that's it. You need to have an ML solution and you need to have your code and model as well. However, if you want to further advance your journey into deployment on the drone using our AWS Greengrass and the other AWS services, I think you got a better chance to win. That's it. Yeah.
cool. Okay, so we have one comment from our viewers from No Good Past 2. Man, this all goes way over my head. I need a lot more free time to learn so I can better understand AI and also machine learning. So, probably one of the advice that I can share with you is that if you're just getting started with machine learning and SageMaker Studio Lab is actually really a good service to start with your journey, and like what Yanwei mentioned that we also provide samples that are available on GitHub, and you can use this sample to get started. The computer vision demo that Yanwei already shared with us, that's actually coming from this sample. So it has everything that you need to get started to learn about machine learning with AWS technologies. Okay, so I think we are near to close today's office hour. So let's go for Steve. Steve, do you have any advices that you can share with viewers?
Yeah, and maybe it relates to the last comment. So I think keep it simple, right?
Mm,
Disasters overwhelm people and systems, and so it's critical that the tools that are developed and that are made available don't add to the burden. So when you're designing something, think about it from a user perspective, and how they're going to be able to interact and function with it. I think that's really important.
amazing. So identify the pain points and working backwards from there. Thank you, Steve.
Absolutely.
Yanwei, how about you? What is your technical advice for viewers?
I think machine learning is very exciting area. If you are a student and you are in the correct, you are in the one of the best job in the world. So that please continue the machine learning journey. And for the people who are already integrated in their career in machine learning do have attract attention in the public, and a lot of machine model have been already used in the production environment. Machine learning is not something in the buzzword. It's actually happening in disaster management, disaster prevention, etc. So that yeah, please advance your journey on the machine learning. And for the yeah for AWS audience, We do provide SageMaker Studio Lab for you to ramp up and the AWS SageMaker for machine learning platform.
Amazing. Thank you, Yanwei. Okay, all right. That's a wrap, everyone. Remember to join the hackathon by using this link shown on the screen. And also, let me share my screen again. Don't forget to check the inspiration tab. Let me share the link as well. So this tab is actually really have a really good resources for you to get started with. And once that you have joined, please address all of your questions on Discord channel, and we can help you out there. Okay, so thank you everyone for watching. Stay safe and happy building.